It's the Dev Friday Show with Mark and Tim.
It is the Dev Friday Show every Friday, except the Fridays that it's not the Dev Friday Show. There is the Dev Friday Show. And I am happy to report that DevFridayShow.com, the home of all your Dev Friday Show content, is completely up to date because I actually mixed everything and uploaded it just mere moments before starting this live stream, which is streaming live on our YouTube channel and the Twitters.
Well, yes, our Dev Friday Show may be content complete, but may not be feature complete.
Yes, we still need to do some chapterization there, even though I've not really done the transcripts or the chaptering myself for quite some time. But once we get chapters out, man, it's going to be amazing. It's going to be amazing.
Maybe by show 153, we'll have this all put together.
We've been doing it for a year already. It's already been a year. Anyway, I had a. Oh, wait,
this all started. Maybe we would say we've been doing it for a year, but this all started because I just wanted to talk to you, Tim.
Yeah.
We just wanted to have a chat and be like, well, if we're going to be talking to each other, why don't we record it and share it with the world?
That's
because
right.
Because you know how public I'd like to be. So
yeah, Mark is all over the socials, and he loves his not privacy. So he said, let's record. I don't know. Is Pennsylvania a single party state? I don't know if it's a dual party state.
Single party state.
Where you have to you know what I'm saying? Like where you have to notify the other person that you're recording them. Because some states are single party, where only one party has to be aware that they are being recorded. And for telephone conversations, that can get interesting. I don't know if Pennsylvania is one party or two party. That is
a very interesting question, Tim.
You could have just been recording it. You should have been calling me on Friday, recording it, and making a podcast.
And I should really look into that because that would be probably helpful for future projects I'm thinking about.
What now? That's interesting. So, I had an interesting game I thought of.
All right.
Just earlier today. I mean, Twitter's in the news, right? So let's talk about Twitter a little bit.
We can talk about the social of Twitter because I'm kind of I'm pulling back, Tim. I'm pulling back.
I don't know what
I'm getting out. I'm hitting the eject button.
Okay. I thought this would be an interesting game. Tell us how long you've been on Twitter without telling us how long you've been on Twitter. You know those like social games where they play where you say something like tell us how old you are without telling us how old you are, and you like show a picture of a VHS and you're like, this is my favorite movie, and people are like, oh, you must be that old because you know what VHSs are. Or tapes or beta or whatever. Records. Now records are coming back though, right? People are actually releasing vinyl now, I see. And that's kind of
there's always a retro movement here and there, and that makes sense. You know, records are never gonna die. There's always gonna people that are gonna embrace them.
I think I saw someone what was it? I think they used a CNC machine to carve audio into a piece of hardboard. Instead of the way you normally manufacture records.
Well, the record was a great design.
Oh yeah,
it's almost like a timeless design. Compare that to like VHS or cassette tapes. Those kind of went away pretty fast.
You don't think they're timeless? I mean,
I don't. Well, from a design perspective, as in they're going to break down very, very easy. Now, a record can be scratched, but just how the engineering of the engraving of the
but like a tape, you're saying like the magnetic tape stretches and stuff. And
the overall device it can fail, and it fails. Like you can pull that tape and rip it out pretty easy. Then the time where you have to roll back in with your fingers or with a screwdriver or something like that.
Pencils the time.
So just like the device, had a lot of failure points. But a record, even though it can be scratched, how it's engineered of basically baking in the frequencies into the grooves of a piece of plastic or metal or whatever material you're using it. It's a great design.
And I find it one part of it that I find intriguing is that now a tape recorder, the head usually would be used for either recording and playback, and it could do both. But it would, it's, what am I trying to say? It's the same thing. You're either reading the magnetic imprint or you're writing it. But what's interesting to me about a record is it can be used, the technology can be used either way. Like that's how you would make a record too, way back, is with a wax record of sorts. You'd have the same thing going and you would be just playing audio at it, right? That's how the first records were made, is they would record it into wax, just using what would be the speaker as the microphone then to capture the audio and then vibrate the pin. So you'd make a blank and wax of sorts.
And also think about because I don't think about like the way hard disks work or spinning hard disks. I know everybody has like an MM2 or an SSD now, but I think about like a spinning hard disk of your 5400 RPM or 7200, spinning disks.
Those. Yeah. The speed of your
in
disk.
a sense, even though the needle is writing, dots in a sense, or zeros and ones, or or kind of just little scratches on the disk, but in a sense, it's kind of has a similar type of design in the sense of like just writing to a disk and that's spinning and be able to read from it in that way. So it's interesting how the record player, that technology just spun out that's a pun. It spun out a lot of different technologies from it. So that we still use today.
The idea of a rotating disc to encode information, and then it goes from the needle that moves along what is really a long track, a linear track, right? Yeah. To then being able to move the head across it like a hard drive head does, or optical media, same thing, right? You're able to move it, spin it, and move it. You got your two coordinates, so in a 2D plane, you can get wherever you need to get. Anyway,
this is why I love Dev Friday, Tim, because I had no idea that we were going to be talking about records and hard disks and spinning, data that.
Basically, Dev Friday is a large digression. That's what it is. It's just we start with an idea, and then we never get back to it. Yeah.
A continual rat hole loop we're stuck in. Every time we log on together, we just we're in this constant just loop that it leads nowhere.
It reminds me of last week's episode. We are like the yak shaving of conversations, where you're just like, well, what were you talking about? I don't know. This is what we ended up talking about. I have no idea what we were trying to talk about. I don't even know how that happened. So anyway, tell us how long have you been on Twitter without telling us how long you've been on Twitter?
Without even looking at Twitter, because I think Twitter does say member since, or they have a date. I could look it up. I think it was 2007. I was starting to think about like my timeline.
But you are literally telling us how long you've been on Twitter by telling us how long you've been on Twitter.
Oh, well, yeah, why not? That was the question, right?
No. The question is, tell us how long you've been on Twitter without telling us how long you've been on Twitter.
Well, then, okay, you're gonna have to
like some people might. Well, it's the same thing. Like if you tell us how old you are, well, you're talking about records, so you must be pretty old.
Okay.
So the idea would be then, if you talk about I remember when Twitter had its live streaming service, Periscope, which I think does it still have? I don't think it does. You can live stream to Twitter because we are, but I don't think it's via Periscope. Or you remember Vines? Remember the Vines before the TikTok?
Yes.
I don't know if Vines actually predated TikTok, but like Vines and TikTok and Instagram. What does Instagram have? Is it stories? Is that what they have?
No, Instagram has the stories.
There's Reels now on Facebook, I think. I don't know. They're all, but Vines I think was the first.
It was.
Like those little tiny video clips that you put on Twitter.
I never did it, but all right.
Right, but it existed, yeah. So, but you know that because you were on
Spaces are the hot thing right now, though.
Oh, the Space, yep. Well, everybody, which we could be streaming to Spaces, but we're not for some reason because
why would we?
Difficult.
Who's going to be on a Space? Who's on Twitter? That's a bigger question to ask. Who's actually still on Twitter?
It's all bots. It's all bots. And I'll admit my engagement in the Twitter sphere, or whatever you want to call it, is significantly less than it has been in the past. I can't exactly say why. It just is. Is that
all right? So let's talk about the huge bird in the room.
Not yet. How long have you been on Twitter?
I've been on Twitter since.
So like, what were you like?
You're talking about the features. What was there?
Yeah, I've been on Twitter.
Okay. Unfortunately,
Could you tweet from your phone with SMS?
That's okay. Unfortunately. That's interesting. I'm curious. When I joined Twitter, I think it was in 2007, 2008, somewhere around then.
Yeah.
I wonder if they still had the SMS ability there.
I think they did back then, yeah.
I don't think I'd never used it. I never used it that way.
Because that's what Twitter started as.
Yeah.
Twitter started
and
as
I was never in the pure SMS version of Twitter where that was super, super early. But I was definitely...
Remember GroupMe?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
GroupMe was like the group SMS chat. Like Twitter was it was like public GroupMe was kind of how it was sold. Mm-hmm. At least how I remember understanding it back when I first encountered Twitter. But yeah, you used to be able to SMS from your phone. They had a shortcode. It was like 40404, I think. And if you sent a message to that, it would go onto your timeline and everybody would see it. And you could subscribe to notifications and you get the people you follow streaming into your SMS inbox.
Yeah. All I can
That's-
remember is the fact that like I would two things about the early version of Twitter. The fact that like I could actually have, let's say 100, 200 followers, honestly, or 300 or many followers I wanted to, and the timeline made sense. It was sequential.
okay.
It was time
You
based.
can still turn that on.
I know you can still do it, but they want to use it away with it because
they
the way
wanna
that
bubble up
Facebook
everything,
and Instagram now control like how what the user sees in the timeline. They want to do the same thing, especially so they can serve ads. But I like the fact that back then it was pure in a sense where you could follow 100, 200 people, maybe some of them were your friends, some are people you just knew about in the technology sphere, and also the content was more meaningful too, because people actually took it like a little bit more seriously in a sense where they weren't spammy in a sense.
Or it was less seriously almost. It was like it was genuine as opposed to how am I going to build my following type thing.
That's a better word. Where like it was more communication based, where it's like people were actually trying to talk, communicate, and the tweets or the posts were a little bit more meaningful. Now it's just kind of like, well, like I use Twitter myself, just like making jokes or being sarcastic, and just kind of like it just turned into this kind of a crazy kind of space where people could just say anything, which honestly has its place too. No problem with that. The other thing I remember about it, every time I log in, I basically could make a tweet, maybe read a couple tweets, and then I need the fail whale pop up. And then I have to reload the page.
Fail whale.
Yeah.
I remember the fail whale.
Yeah.
I have not seen the fail whale for quite
They did fix
time.
those issues. Well, they did start off on the old Ruby on Rails, and they did
That's right. They were built on Ruby, weren't they?
Yeah, yep, they were.
I don't know.
I don't know if they were maybe the first version was built on Rails. I don't know that, but I know definitely the first system was Ruby until they rewrote it. Then I think they rewrote it in C or something like that. So,
yeah, I'm kind of remembering that now. So, but no, this is the thing that I kind of only certain followers, but probably the people that are listening to this podcast, if anybody's listening to this podcast, will get this. But I can date myself on Twitter as one of my tweets was in Twilio's first pitch deck to investors.
Interesting.
Right?
Because
when they filed to go public, they had to make all of their, I don't know, presentations and such public. Jeff Lawson tweeted out... Yeah, a presentation.
As a geek who knows Twilio and knows that's a pretty interesting kind of thing. You can put that on your tombstone, Tim.
Yeah, my tombstone.
People should remember you by that.
Yeah, that's. I hope people remember me by
my first tweet. One of my first tweet was reference.
Oh, it wasn't even one of my first tweets. It wasn't even one of my first tweets. I know it because it was when my avatar on there was a drawn image of me and not me. And I got complaints when I go to dev events because people wouldn't be able to recognize me because they'd be like, oh, that's you. And there was like this, And when I say those dev events, you know what those dev event that people didn't recognize me as? Get this. It was the hackathon at Venmo.
Okay.
Because if you want to date your Venmo use, I remember when Venmo was 3 or 4 guys in Philadelphia
that's
sending
cool.
2-3 cent transactions back and forth, using Twilio as their mechanism, and I was trying to I was trying to figure out how to build remember the tweet auctioneer hackathon idea?
Yeah.
Where you basically Venmo people, and then if you tweeted more, you'd Venmo them more, and then it would automatically take it back from the other person, and you have an auction on Twitter. That was I was working.
Sounds like so many things could probably go wrong with that.
Oh yeah, it was. I mean, I'm not saying it was a great idea, but it was an idea. It was an idea. But yeah, that was back in the day before anybody knew who Venmo was. And now I mean, it's weird to me because I don't really use Venmo, but I had my accountant after I filed taxes this year was like, yeah, you can send me a check or you can Venmo me, and it's just like I don't even. Yeah, I've not used it since I was sending people little 1-2 cent transactions, and in fact, that was so long ago. My current Venmo account, I don't think has those transactions anymore. I don't know what that account was, but I feel like it's just kind of gone away. But anyway, so that's how long we've been on Twitter. Very long time. Very long time.
But where is Twitter now, Tim? It's in the hands of the AI, the future AI that Elon Musk is going to bring into it. He did walk into Twitter with a sink. Did you see that?
I don't
that
understand that. I
don't. Yeah,
I saw the headline. What point was he trying to make? I don't even understand.
It was a pun or something about like I have no idea. I heard it.
He's going to throw out the kitchen. It's everything in the kitchen sink or
something like that.
Okay.
It was some pun he was trying to make, and I saw a news commentator actually explain it, but I was like, it was not very memorable. I like the fact there was some memes going around of people putting videos or pictures over top of the sink as he was carrying it, because he looks like he's carrying in like a box or display if you got to do it. So people are putting in like videos of people crying, like developers screaming. So as he's walking to Twitter, you can hear like all these boos and like screams of like, "Oh my gosh, he's come in! He's gonna like tear down the place." And he may, but yes, it's in the hands of the Musk of Iron Man. He's going to be he's
Iron Man now.
He's going to be remaking it into his own image. Well, he tries to be. He wants to be the Tony Stark. Is his life?
Is that what you think? But doesn't he have to get like in a battle torn place and then make an arc reactor or something?
Well, it's Twitter, right? It's Twitter. It's a battle torn place.
Okay. So in at the Twitter HQ, he's going to start making an arc reactor or something. So.
And it is a shame thinking about Twitter. We're like, and I haven't been using it. I don't know. I definitely cut my usage back drastically. I think it was around. It's interesting, not for the reason that people like a lot of people started to leave Twitter when Elon started to do this whole I'm going to buy Twitter and take it over and do something, serve humanity with it, and a lot of people started to leave. It wasn't really because of that issue, but it was just because of with the way the world was going, with like how social media is just being controlled and just making people get upset. The feeds are designed to keep your eyes on it by just serving you news and information that want to get you riled up and gets you wants to just start complaining about things, which that's what I would use Twitter for. Just complain, be sarcastic, and like
yeah.
And I was like, I had to stop that because I felt like I would watch the news or check out some headline and then I like have a perspective about it. That's like, okay, at least it's funny to me, kind of sarcastic. And I was like, well, I'll post it there. But I was like, in the end, why am I putting this out in public? It's also people put way too much information on public, and that information will be used against you in some form, in way that could be used just like you talked about, to serve ads, to really to base a model off of you that could be used to market to you, or it could be used in the future if you look for a job, right? So if you're hiring for a job and companies are being more what's the word? More obvious or more upfront about the fact of like, they're going to look at your social media profile and they're going to just, see who you are. Right. And they're going to check you out. Like I know when my wife and I had to find a lawyer to deal with some issues after the house fire and or deal with the insurance issues and stuff like that. And the insurance company was upfront the fact, we took a look at your social profiles. Like before they would meet with us because they want to make sure we're not crazy people. And I was like, it just it is the way it's the world that we live in. So I'm like, wow. I started to just pull away a little bit, from I was already off of Facebook. I keep a Facebook account because of family, because most of my family's on Facebook. That's a nice, easy way to kind of message and stuff like that. But I stopped posting on Facebook like many, many years ago, and I just have an account on there just in case if I need to message somebody or receive a message. But then Instagram, I stopped using, even though I loved Instagram as a product. That was probably one of my favorite social platforms, just because I loved like the the visual nature of it, taking photograph posts. So if I go to a museum or go travel or something like that, it was a fun thing to do, and I loved posting that. I stopped doing that because it's controlled by Facebook, and I could see the connection started to be made of how with the Instagram between Facebook and then Twitter. Yeah, Twitter was my last social network. Place. But I'm stop using it. So now what I'm doing, I'm working on this, a small little side project. I don't know if this actually turned into anything, but it would serve my personal needs. I want to see if you're going to get the name here. I want to create a product called Loofah.me. Loofah.me.
So it's going to clean all your social.
Yes,
the entire
you got the
internet.
name. The name, right?
No,
so I had the domain. I have it. I'm just like, I don't know if it's actually a thing.
I just want to make this clear. If you have an idea, the first thing you have to do is buy your domain and then don't do anything with it for 20, 30 years.
Exactly. Which I did do a little spring cleaning of my domain names the past month and decided, okay, well, try to really renew these.
There's a game.
Am I really going to use these in the future, even though I haven't done anything with them in 10 years?
I want to play that game. I want to see the list of domains you let go of, and then we can talk about what great ideas they were. That's what I want to see. Let's slate that for next week. Get Mark's And
I've had
I'll even see if I can get a
many-
stinger for it that goes like Mark's retired domain names. And
I've had
we'll
so
have a little
many.
segment.
I don't know if I could actually do that. I'd have to really, really go back.
I can tell you some of mine. Yeah,
But
it'd be a fun game to
okay,
play.
and like I said, I have no idea. But yeah, you're right. Every time I think of a project idea, I want to check to see if it's a domain name because who knows? It could be that $1 million project idea that it never turns out to be.
Only $1 million project though, because you could get that domain.
But it would serve my purpose because what I want to do is I want to back up all my social media accounts. I do want to keep the content because I feel like I just want to have the archived because backed up because there could be some interesting, like you talked about, there could be some interesting tweets I made back when first Twitter was there that for me actually to get to them now would actually take some work to scroll back through all my tweets, especially if we made like 3,000 tweets or whatever the number is. Right. So it would take a little bit of time. So I want to back up. I want to archive everything. And then I do want to delete everything. So I want to delete all the posts, but I still want to keep the account.
See, that's interesting because if you do that, though, what you do is you delete one half of the conversation for people like me who had conversations with you.
I know.
Mark's like, I've thought through these consequences, and let me be honest, I don't care.
Because but then what it could also do, my idea is like, I want to back this program would back up everything, and then I could delete everything, and then I could slowly choose which posts I would kind of want to reinsert back into it, like repost. Right. So if there are some posts,
reposting them out of order.
I know, and they wouldn't be connected to you, especially if it was a reply to you.
Yeah.
And I would never repost a reply to you. So whatever. But but
I would never repost reply to you. So whatever.
But the fact of like, there may be some tweets that maybe are good. I might want to have some control over that. So I thought it'd be kind of a fun project because I do want to back up. I'm pulling away from all these social networks. I want to back up my content, but then I do want to get my content off of these systems because I don't trust the systems. Even when you delete your account too, like I don't trust that because I was looking at the delete features of like Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. I did lock down my Twitter and my Instagram and turned it to be private so that nobody can really follow me anymore unless if you follow me, you can still see my content, but I turn on the feature that they have where you could basically make your account private to new followers and they have to request to follow you. So I did turn on that feature. But I wanted to see, okay, if I deactivate it, it's like and Facebook does have this deactivation feature where you could deactivate your account, but then you're not deleting your account. But then I'm also a developer on some small Facebook apps I worked on for clients about like 10 years ago. And they said like, oh, you have to like remove yourself and, assign somebody else as a developer. I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to go and clean up these small little Facebook apps that I made like way back when. I was like, oh, geez. So my Facebook is in limbo, and Twitter too, they just give you the ability, okay, you could outright delete your account. They give you that option. You said delete it. You basically have, I think it may give you like 30 days to like revert that decision, but they don't have like a real good kind of deactivation. Kind of like the idea of maybe also deactivating my account where I still have my account. Somebody could possibly still send me a DM, but I don't want anybody to kind of see like a public facing profile page, but they don't really give you that option. So I'm in the process.
Just lock your account?
Well, I turned it to be like a privacy setting where you could set your account to basically be private. Where some of your tweets would be to new followers or people who do not follow you.
Or anybody who doesn't follow you. Yeah.
It's going to show up as private.
You have the lock.
It's going to show up as private, but then you could request to follow that person, and then I just have to approve that.
Right. So that's the thing that my perspective is almost exactly the opposite, which is why we make, I think, a good podcast.
That's why we're the odd couple, Tim.
Yeah. Yeah. I hate the private account because it's like, if I'm going to put it online, I'm going to put it online.
And that's why.
And I think that is really misleading because if you really think it's private, it's not.
Yeah, I know.
It's not. If you're, if you don't want something online, here's a tip: don't put it online.
Yeah.
There is no privacy.
So this was just a stopgap solution for me. Like my thing is I do want to get like I said, I want to back up the content, and then I do want to get most of the content off because I don't want that to be profiled against me in the digital world. But I still want to then revert to still have a public facing page. So I'm just turning on the privacy or that lock setting just to kind of, like I said, I don't know. What
is going to be used against you though? I mean, they're talking about, I don't know. What this looks like, this is what happens. You're posting memes. Phillies stuff. I don't know.
Yeah.
You think the Eagles, something Ukraine? What do you what do you think is going to be used against you?
Phillies in Ukraine. Yeah. What else is there to talk about? I know.
Thinking of
Well,
starting
like
a
I said,
hunting.
this is
This is the tweet that I want to stay around for a while. Thinking of starting a hunting and farming YouTube channel with TJ Lytle and my office mate Jason Zuli. I would play the role of neophyte learning from the masters. This is, I
yeah.
mean, that's one we should keep
Well,
that. I'm going to
yeah,
retweet
okay.
it, and all my
All right.
followers will see this content is not available for you because Mark has a private account,
Yeah.
defeating the whole purpose.
Well,
of social.
I'm not going to get into that too. It's like, yeah, we've had side conversations where I've been kind of, my mind's been going into a pastor, my survival instinct, let's say, has been kicking in.
Okay.
So,
Well,
some
you
things
live
are
in the big city, obviously, as anybody can see behind
so,
you. I live
some
out
things
in
I've been
nowhere
working
village.
on and thinking about and kind of refactoring my view of the future. I think those are the things I probably don't want to tweet because people could misinterpret those, or I don't know. So just me talking about it right now starts to make me uncomfortable how people are going to interpret this.
Really? This is more uncomfortable than the fact that numerous times you've talked about how you're trying to leave education and your fellow teachers listen to this. You are on the cusp of just leaving them with all those rabid students.
I don't care about that, but
that's fine. But the fact that I might try farming, oh boy, let me tell you, I don't want to be lumped in with those crazy farmers. You don't know what they're gonna do.
Yeah, well, that's the thing.
What? Grow food?
I know.
Are you
People
serious?
People don't do it anymore. It's like you're instructed, you're told to go to the store, buy your food, take it home, and be quiet.
Someone does grow the food. It doesn't come. I know this may come as a surprise to some people, but there's not like a factory behind grocery stores. It's still grown somewhere. But anyway.
Yeah. So going back to the Elon Musk buying Twitter. So what do you think about this? Because this is the big news. He finally sealed this deal by buying Twitter for $44 billion when it's only worth maybe $20 billion. Right. And he so overpaid for. I've heard different perspectives about this. Some tech guys who made a lot of money who started PayPal and left Facebook, and they had the perspective.
About Musk started PayPal. I mean,
yes, no, that's what I'm saying. They're friends with Musk. Yes, they're friends with Musk, and they see it as he got his value because if he could turn this around, they're seeing Twitter as like a cash cow. Like if he just kind of turns the knobs a little bit,
if you can turn it around, that's the thing. If you can make it valuable,
if you can make some adjustments to it, cut the costs, do it, he could just turn on the money spigot, and he actually got this at a deal. I'm like, okay,
which isn't there that whole show? I'll be honest. The entrepreneurship and the business side of things always intrigues me, but not enough for me to do a whole lot with it. But there's a show, I forget what it's called. It's is his name Marcus? I don't know how to say his last name. I don't know how to say that. Marcus something.
You talking about Shark Tank or?
No, not Shark Tank. It's the guy who goes in and rehabs businesses.
Oh, okay.
I think I think the title of the show is The Profit. And
it's like a CNBC show, right?
Yeah. And he's a turnaround artist, and I mean we see that all the time. There's firms that do that type of stuff, and then there's individuals who come in and say, "All right, I'm going to take a look at this business. You have potential here, but you're not. You don't have the value, and the value is because you're not doing this right, this right, this right, this right. Come into the company, figure out. And a lot of times when it's more brick and mortar stuff, it could be let's sell off some assets. Let's stop draining money in these places where we're not making it, and focus on where we actually can make it. Let's be disciplined about that. Let's maybe even, like I said, chop up the company, sell off different pieces. That's where people really don't like those types of firms that come in and do that. But in the end, from a stockholder perspective, you turn around a company that has not a lot of value, and now it does, right? That's the point. It'd be interesting to see that now in the tech side of things, because, well, what are you going to do? You don't have railroad cars that you can be like, all right, we own too many physical assets here at Twitter. Let's start selling off some of our manufacturing plants and let somebody else do the manufacturing. We'll focus on what really makes us money. Tweets. They don't have that, right?
Well,
so to see, but I know to see it done maybe in a virtual way might be interesting. The thing that I find kind of fascinating about the whole thing, and I'm not on the Musk bandwagon. I don't think that he's playing 15-dimensional chess. I find it interesting though, the whole I'm not going to pay for this because there's too many bots on it, because it changed the conversation around a lot of things. And then the result was, as there's discovery, basically his communication with other people about Twitter then becomes public. And you see that he's not the only one that thinks that the whole system is broken in terms of the model and how that's working, that it's broken. Jack Dorsey does. The one of the co-founders of Twitter thinks it's broken, says I tried in his communication with Musk, which is now public because of Musk's shenanigans, says I tried to do it, I can't do it from the inside. He's basically saying, Musk, you're right, in his perspective. I'm not saying either one of them's right, but his perspective that this shouldn't be a public company. If you want to actually make it what it should be, it needs to be private again. And I was trying to do that, but I couldn't do that from the inside, was roughly what his conversation with Musk was, that then becomes public because of the, like I said, because of the shenanigans. So I'm kind of interested in that. But the one thing that makes it, to me, this idea of being able to share information and this idea about social platforms that make it easy for people to share information, I think is good. But at the same time, I also think it's good that now people are saying, wait a second. They're saying things like, this is too much control to have in the hands of one man. Okay, but it was okay to have it in the hands of another type of people, like a group of people. That was totally okay. But now that it's in his hands, now, oh my, what power have we given him? Well, what power was there to begin with? Maybe we need to not think about things that way, where we give these platforms like Facebook and Twitter and Instagram so much power because we put all of our content in them, and then we say things like, well, if he silences us, then we have no voice. No, you still have a voice. You might not have a voice on Twitter, but you have a voice someplace. Yeah. So and this I am going, like, I do have a topic. I am trying to go someplace.
We're never going to get there, Tim.
We'll see if we get there. No, because it was what was it? Not more than a year and a half ago, I think now. I said, hey, you got blocked, or you got your favorite social. I tweeted these out, right? Your favorite social media app got shut down. Aw, you should invest in my idea. It's totally distributed. No censorship, right? When you sign up, you can host your feed with us on your own server, and a bunch of third-party options. You could choose somebody else's server, even multiple places. You could host it multiple places. After all, it's your content. When you post, you know what we do? We just add it to your feed. It's stored wherever you choose. We're using this brand new format. You know what it's called? RSS. And it looks like it'll work great for this thing. There's even this OPML thing where you can have all of your subscribers. It's wait a second. We've already done this. The internet is the platform. Stop proxying it and giving it to somebody else. Be your own voice.
Well, that's actually how Twitter started, as a podcasting platform.
As an RSS?
Well, it was RSS. No, I'm sorry. Wait, I'm getting confused. There was there was connection to that podcasting site that Dorsey and the other guy started.
Medium once upon a time. No.
Medium was the evolution of Twitter. So that kind of. But there was before Twitter. There was another service that was like more of a podcasting service based around RSS. Can you bring an RSS up? And around podcasting, and then that kind of, they started that, and then they pivoted to, because everybody in Silicon Valley is doing start pivots at some point in their life.
If you don't pivot,
you're dead.
Yeah.
So they pivoted into Twitter with the SMS, but it did start. There's another. It wasn't like Rodeo. The Rodeo is the other. What's like the actual microphone company?
I remember. Yeah.
But there was like a Modio, Rodeo, or something like that. There was a podcasting platform that they were trying to build.
Yes. Now it's sounding vaguely familiar.
The founders of Twitter were trying to build, and I remember using it too.
Yeah.
And then but then they were like, then they started the Twitter SMS as like a side project, just for fun in Silicon Valley with their friends. And then it kind of took off. Yeah.
But the reason why I bring that up, and it's not this isn't unique to me, right? These technologies exist. We should be using them where you can control your own footprint. And that, to your point, then you could control your own footprint.
Yeah.
If Twitter was, and I know people that are Mastodon fans are like, that's exactly what Mastodon is. Yeah, sure, okay, but it's not taken off, right? It's taken off a little bit. And here's the fun part: after yesterday, I'm getting people that are like, oh, this person added you on Mastodon. No kidding. So everybody's running to Mastodon now. But what I found interesting too lately is Blue Sky, which is Dorsey's new project, right? If you look at the splash page for Blue Sky, the web, email, RSS feeds, XMPP chats, what all these technologies has in common is they allow people to freely interact and create contact without a single intermediary. So Dorsey's now coming at it from a different angle, and that is this distributed, hey, this is what it says, we're building the AT protocol, which gives content creators independence from platforms. So even those minds know the answer is not these huge services that then become so unwieldy and then become, whether you like it or not, they become the, I don't want to say censorship, but it's that idea that, well, they become the filter. And they're going to be filtered by their own biases because they're run by people. They just are. Reason why there's a bunch of people that are now happy and a bunch of other people that are now upset is that the people that run it have now a different bias, and they're either more aligned with your bias or less aligned with your bias. So now it's either good or it's bad. But the problem is we're putting all of our eggs in these few baskets and then complaining when they say, I don't like that content, or I don't like that speech. Well, that's what the internet's for. Don't complain that, oh, no, it's my right to post on Twitter. It's not.
It's your right. It's your human right.
It's not. But that's what the internet gives you, is the ability that you can go host your own site, buddy. That's the point.
A few things. First of all,
a few things. Okay.
I looked it up. Audio. Remember Audio?
Audio.
That's what I was referring to.
I remember this one. Yeah.
And you say, because it all goes back to how old are you in Twitter? Well, I remember Twitter before it was Twitter.
There you go. There's my answer. I was on Twitter before it was Twitter. It
was Audio, which actually was a pretty cool, interesting, because we're on a podcast now. That's kind of what it was. It was trying to make like one of the first podcast networks. It had a cool podcast player. It was kind of allowing you to kind of curate podcasts and to be able to kind of give it all like in one web interface, but it never took off, never made any money. And they got distracted by saying, oh, let's make this an SMS Twitter platform. And then that kind of that took off and evolved into that. But that's kind of interesting, like the Audio kind of foundation of Twitter, which is kind of interesting to take a look at. But where I think Twitter's going to go, because Musk actually has said what he wants to do with Twitter. And the media doesn't want to really talk about or admit it, but like what he wants to say, he wants to turn into WeChat. So WeChat, the Chinese messaging platform, which basically every person in China uses WeChat to basically pay for everything.
Right.
So that's what he wants. He's talked about the fact, like, he looks at the WeChat model and he applauds it. Like, he thinks that that's the ideal model of having a platform that basically people can transact with, people can communicate with, have it all in one thing. Kind of the opposite of what you're talking about. It's going to be kind of all in one thing. And then talk about control. That also, that what worries me more. Like, I don't really care about Musk's political views or, what he says, because he's just crazy. He just wants to get attention.
He's just crazy. Yeah.
I don't care about that. But yes, making a monolithic platform that also controls people money, not just people's communication, even though it says it's, you're giving the people the opportunity to have free speech and be able to communicate in a public space. But then that gets tied back to your bank account in some way. And then it controls your transactions and take fees from the transactions you make with other business or other people. That's where it starts to get to be a little bit weird for me, because, like I said, that's how China controls a lot of the economy with the people's transactions. They control that through WeChat.
And then but like that would mean, what am I trying to say? It's just then the fact that everybody's using it, right? That we're basically ceding that control to a platform.
You're giving it up,
Because everybody could use Venmo, but I don't use Venmo, so you're going to find that I'm going to use.
And it is interesting. There's so many now, like Cash App. I just had to send some money because we were buying a gift for somebody, and there was like, oh, tell me how to send the money to, because we were doing like a group at work in my department.
You're doing
like
the Cash App. I've seen
a group
that too,
present. Yeah. I was expecting like Venmo because we've used that before, and then I got a link from the email link from the Cash App. I was like, Cash App. Oh my gosh, another app I got to download and create an account on and set some money. I'm like, I've been trying to I'm trying to also along with my social networks.
What happened to PayPal?
Try to reduce. It's like trying to reduce the number of financial apps that I use, or that I have to use in a sense.
Right.
And Cash App. Oh my gosh, that's another one I have to like get online with. I'm like, geez, was trying to avoid that.
You have to sync your bank. You have to do that.
Yeah, I know. It's like giving. That's the other thing.
I don't even know how to say it. Is it plaid? I don't know how to say the thing that just is now that layer between.
Fortunately, you know what I do now? I've taken the next step.
do?
I have I use Chime as like a temporary bank account.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So I use it, and you're talking about PayPal. I have this really cool kind of flow where I could go from PayPal to Coinbase to Chime to move money between my cryptocurrencies. And if I need to like kind of use Chime as a temporary bank account, just like I use Google Voice as like a phone number that I could give to people.
See, this is another game that I think we should play, because just what you described there, I feel like that would play well in this game that says developer or terrorist. You know what I mean?
Or spy, Tim.
Yeah,
that's my goal.
okay.
I'm trying to become my own spy.
And I play that game too. It's called Homesteader or Terrorist, because every video you see of like the terrorist camps, they've got the big, the big plastic totes filled with whatever liquids and stuff. I have those. That's how I feed the animals. So it's like, I don't know. Same activities.
Well, I know. I love the fact. I love the fact that I was like, I gotta get off the social networks because I don't like posting stuff. That I'm on a podcast with you and all this public. So.
Like, let me just talk about how I transfer money through cryptocurrency, a temporary bank account. I mean, it's like a burner phone, but
it's like a burner bank account. Yeah, that's what I treat it as. But
because I saw sketchy about that at all.
Well, I saw the benefit of using Google Voice over. I've been using that as like the phone number. When I give out a phone number to anybody, I give my Google Voice number. I never give my personal phone number out. I've been doing that for about over 5 years. It's totally cut down.
What's weird though is when I have to give out my phone number, I give out yours, not mine. So
no, that explains it.
That's
the leak in the system. Yes,
that's it. Yep.
But I only give my personal phone number. Yes, to people like you, but personal friends, family, people I trust. Yes, I will give my direct number out there because Google Voice can sometimes be a little bit flaky. Where like it'll say like, "Oh, somebody's trying to call you," and then you don't never hear the phone ring. So it's like, but I'm like, I don't know that person, so it doesn't really matter to me. But just using Google Voice to kind of manage the spam and manage like your like people, just giving people the access to have a direct connection to you, I've super valuable. So. What also is concerning to me is the banks. Like we talked about too. My friend just got hacked with, which they would.
It was like a phishing campaign.
And they got her access to bank account, took $1,000 out of her bank account within 5 minutes, and it was traumatic for her. But just kind of controlling access to your money. That's why I hate all these money apps, all these systems that want to have access to your bank account or to your credit cards. It's just crazy.
Right.
So if you could find, and the only reason I do this, it's partly experiment, just to kind of see, because when I've been trading cryptocurrencies with Coinbase and seeing how I can move that money around, but just having also a bank account that I could basically use like Google Voice. So if I do have, which I just do for this, the Cash App, I didn't use my real checking account. I just used my Chime checking account, gave them that information, and then made sure I had enough money in there just by moving. So
you just do a transfer into Chime.
Yeah, and so now
it's basically a bank as a firewall is what you're using.
Yeah, and it does. They delay it because they probably give you have to wait like 24 hours to get the money. But like whatever, so if you just know the time frame of how fast you get the money, you could do it instantly if you pay them like an extra $1 or so. They make
Chime?
money off those. Well, yeah, just transfer. They can say, we can make this transfer happen immediately if you pay us like a fee. I'm like, what? Okay, whatever.
Is that a transfer into them or out of them?
Well, both.
Okay.
It depends on who's
the into seems.
It depends who's. If I'm gonna be going, let's say from Coinbase to Chime, they charge a fee if I went to an instant.
Coinbase does.
Yes. So whoever's sending the money, they charge the fee.
Yeah.
But
now, for normal people who might be using Chime as a firewall from their real bank, an EFT can probably be done pretty quickly, but that's a story.
So I don't know why we got talking about that.
This is interesting though. Could you give me the last 4 digits of your social security number?
Oh no, I know.
I needed to verify your bank information.
Well, the reason also I might talk about this too, because like it is interesting things for people to think about. Because like I said, there's so many people are coming after you from so many different angles, and the more that you can put up those firewalls or more put those roadblocks to people to get to you, that people you don't know, people don't trust, and also systems too. Like I said, I don't like the idea. I never was comfortable with the fact of like typing my checking account number into a system.
Right.
That just feels weird, and like people shouldn't do that. So
Right.
I feel
Yeah.
like that's also why the benefit of using a credit card. So if you use a credit card, it does provide that level of like,
Always.
you can do that. So, but
Speeds
there
the
are
charge, yeah.
systems like the Cash App where I had to put in a checking account in order to send that money.
They wouldn't do credit card.
I don't
They're
know.
just
Like
avoiding the feeds,
it
I guess.
maybe, but they said like, oh, link your checking account, and I was like, okay, and I was like, I was because I was actually expecting to do it with the credit card. That's why the way I was going to do it. Just put in my credit card number through the Cash App and pay it. That's what I was going to do. And I was like, oh, are you going to force me to use my checking account? I was like, geez.
I feel like I say this more often than not, but this is not a financial advice podcast.
No. It's a financial protection podcast, Tim.
Yeah. There's only been a couple times I've had to say that, but yeah. So what is Chime? I mean, I kind of know.
Well,
it's like,
no,
I'm
it's a shame.
seeing
I
it
didn't-
say it's not a bank. It's a
I
financial technology
I just saw
company.
some commercials, some online ads about it, and it's there's a couple of these online. They're trying to be. It's like an online only bank.
Right.
No locations, no ATMs. It's 100% online.
Capital One has that too.
Well, I have,
Like
I have a credit card through that. I don't have the bank account, so I don't know.
Right, but like as an institution, Capital One has.
Why am I saying this? Why am I saying you're making me
What the world,
disclose
dude? This is-
what type
this
of
is the
accounts that I
worst-
have? This
this
is
is the
we need to
I'm
delete
gonna
this
have to-
podcast. We gotta delete it. This will not go online.
I feel like I need to bleep things out now.
Oh, this is going against. I was trying to like lock down my life, and this podcast is just—it's a disaster.
Great. Oh, Mark's gonna delete all his tweets, but he basically is reading his checking account number out of a podcast.
It goes back to the reason why I wanted this podcast, just to talk with you. But I had to always remind myself the fact, like, oh, this is going out to other people. So
Don't worry, no one else listens. No one else listens. As
Oh my
now Mark
gosh.
starts getting tons
so
of
no
email
transcript.
about
I think we need to,
no
we need to keep
transcript
we
of
need to
this
keep
one.
the AI and the people at bay. We did no transcript on the show. Audio only.
I'm pretty sure YouTube's making a transcription right now. So anyway, this was I will say I did not see this conversation going this direction, but this was a fun one. This was a real.
Well,
fun
I was
one.
expecting to talk about because the Twitter social and where it's going to go. It is a
Yeah.
little bit concerning, and I think I don't know. It'd be interesting to watch. I would think about like going back to how when you're first using Twitter, like I thought that was a really good experience, and how I use Kagi, the search engine, which I've talked to you about a couple times.
Yeah.
I'm still using it. I'm still paying $10 a month for it. I do think to myself like, is it worth $10 a month? But honestly, it's my primary search engine. I go to it every day. I use it. I rarely have to go to Google. So it's serving me well. I was thinking
does it do really good for the developer questions? Like I feel like it was in the demo that we kind of went through. It seemed like it worked really well there.
I thought it's been occasionally, depending upon if I want to actually do a search on people. That's one thing it's really kind of weak at. So if I have to want to try to find some information about somebody, then you want to probably go to other sources.
So you want to find information about somebody,
which. Okay, we won't go there. Yes, there was. Okay, but anyway, don't get me. I did have to do a little bit of recon on somebody this week. That was an issue.
Oh my! I feel like we need to know more about this.
It was a school issue. A parent I wanted to find some information about because of some issues with my kids. Yeah, I just whatever. So it was,
whoa! Let's park this podcast right here for a second. So did you use the background all those crazy like whenever you search for somebody
I started
like,
to I didn't
on
need
this
to
person?
no
you know?
I didn't need to because there was an issue between my kid and another kid at school. Like it was like a bullying incident where like harassment bullying and just and it was just kind of like I've been dealing with the school about it, and I think they're finally starting to resolve it, mediate it, and that's going to start to happen. So I think I'm feeling better about it, but the beginning of the week, though, I was really stressed and dealing. I was like, okay, I just have to go to this parent directly. And schools are very restrictive about. They're not going to give me the information.
They wouldn't tell you that. That's surprising,
no.
Really.
But if I have a first and last, okay, oh my gosh, I'm gonna like get myself so in trouble here.
It's usually the other way where you're trying to get me into trouble. But this is great. I love this.
So if you have a last name, because I had the kid's first and last name because you can get that because of the online system they use for the school.
This is why you're right though. Like all of your paranoia about this stuff.
Yeah.
Like if you want to, I get mail from my mom here. She's never lived here, right? I get mail from my mom here just because if you start searching for my name and my family name, you'll see that like, hey, they know that Tim Lytle lived where my parents lived.
Yeah.
And then they'll be like, they'll see that Tim Lytle lives here where I live, and then they'll start doing this inference that, oh yeah, Debbie Lytle's of this age group. Maybe she moved to live with her son. So let's just send mail there. And maybe, like they make those jumps and connections, and that's why you get like weird mail to people who have never been at your house. But it's like, oh, you'll get a letter for this person, especially since my grandparents did live here, right? So then now they're starting to look at it and say, because seriously, have you ever gone to White Pages? It's freaky. Like whitepages.com, and you put in some names, like they'll tell me the ages of people and names at different locations, and it's all public. You don't pay for it.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing too. Yeah, they're all getting from public databases, and those sites can also be kind of sketchy too, in a sense, like how they just want you to pay a fee or pay for a service to get more information. So
right. But just what you get from White Pages, just like you're looking up, and not for nefarious reasons. I mean, not that your reasons were nefarious, but someone might
not in this instance. It may happen, but not in this instance.
So well, but like we're looking for like, hey, we want to send the Christmas card to them. I know they were in here. Yeah. Is that still their address? We go to whitepages.com, but it is like the information they have is freaky. Like it in the assumption of, oh, there's probably a 30-year-old here, and it's crazy. So like
you want to hear what I was trying to do? So so I had the kids' first and last name because I can get that from my kids' online learning system that they use. So I can see a listing of all the students in the classes.
Hacking the school system. This is interesting.
No. I haven't gone there yet. I haven't gone there. I'm trying to still be friendly with them. But but I had that name, so I was like, okay. But I want to find the worst case if the school's not going to be resolved. I'm going to contact this parent directly. Have a phone call, have a meeting, right? I need to find information about them just so I know who the parent is, just so I can have some background, a little bit more information. Some
information, like
because the one thing I don't like about dealing with
how much they make, some information to build a little profile on my board here with pictures and yarn. Yeah, I get you.
So and all I had to do was search the last name and a general location, and this person posts so much online. I didn't have to do much at all. I just had to basically put the last name in. The last name, unfortunately, was kind of unique, so I could kind of use that to my advantage. But I just posted the last name, the general location, do a couple searches, and also what I also did was I had a photograph of the kid because of the some pictures that were posted in the past from the school that was just like pictures of class and classmates, something like that. Verified that. I was able to find the person because they were posting so many pictures of their kid online. And then I just had to match up the picture visually, and boom, I had it. So it's like people post so much online, and they should not. It goes back to that. That's what I'm getting to. In fact, it was so easy to find this person because they were posting so much online about themselves, about their family, their kids, and people can find that. It's just, and like I said, I was just doing that to take the next step. If I did need to contact this person directly to talk to them, that's what I was trying to do. But
and I think that's so from a healthy perspective, that's the thing to have about social media, the understanding, and I'm not being articulate, I realize that, but the understanding that I should be intentional about what I'm putting out here, right? Yeah. I know there's some people that are like, I never put photos of my kids. Okay, no, we do. I put we'll put our kids' photos on different social media sites. We're like, hey, we're having dinner with the family. Like that's fine. I get why people would be concerned about that. But just know that everything I'm putting out there, it's out there. Mm-hmm. It's out there, and it's out there for probably the rest of my life, right? So it's like getting a face tattoo. Are you sure you want to do that? That's going to be there forever and may impact things like your employability, whether you think it's right that it does that or not. Once you put it out there, it's out there for everybody to see. So it's not so much, you can adopt the Mark Hermit style of social media where I want to wipe the internet from all my data, or you can say, let me think about what I want to put online and let me be intentional about that. And then here's the flip side, though. The flip side is to remember that people are making decisions every day about what they want to put online. So when you see that person's profile, that's not the real them. That's what they've chosen to reveal to the rest of the world. And we get in that loop, too, where we see what people are out there, especially the influencers, right? What is actually a persona that they're putting out there online that is probably it's not who they really are. First of all, it's not the whole person, right? And it may very well be not even close to accurate to what they really are. But then we see those influencers like, oh, I wish I could be like that, or I wish this, I wish that, because we're seeing something that is nothing more than performance art.
Yeah.
And it can be useful if we understand what it is in reality.
And that's why I stopped using Instagram, because I felt myself becoming that. Not
becoming that.
But
like,
putting on that persona of like, oh, I'm posting pictures of where if I go to some places, like when I went to Japan a bunch of times, right? I was like, always, I loved going there, taking photographs and posting Instagram and having people comment on them and take a look at them. Or if I go to New York, go to a museum, taking pictures of, if you look at my Instagram feed, that's basically what you see, artwork and locations, right? I don't really post too much about people unless maybe my wife has a couple, I might post a couple pictures of her and I there, but really not really just about where I've been. But I started using it in that way, just saying, oh, I want to kind of have a good persona, a nice visual looking persona about myself, about where the place I've been. And I was like, I started to like think like, why? Just, I don't know,
like,
just kind of felt weird.
Like, this is who I have to be, or
or just feel like, oh, I should go somewhere. Take some pictures, need to do something interesting. Right.
So
I started to think that way.
You instead of you driving it.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah. And that's the day. I mean, I'm sure. Again, this isn't groundbreaking. There are plenty of psychologists that have said exactly these things, but it's like social media can be useful if you understand what it really is and are intentional about what you're doing with it. But then again, the flip side, we see Jack now starting Blue Sky with more protocol focus. To me, I like that, because that's what the internet was.
With only 5 minutes left, we should qualify the protocol versus RSS. Well, RSS is a protocol in a sense, right?
Yeah, RSS is a protocol.
But so why would you need another protocol? That's what I'm saying. Like, why would we need something?
I don't know.
else?
I've not dug into the docs. I actually see the AT protocol docs. It's probably because, think about it, RSS worked great for blogs. Mm-hmm. I mean,
but you can't extend it. That's what podcasting 2.0 is doing now. They're extending it. They're adding additional features still, but using the same type of
my gut though says, blogs are great for outside. Or what I want to say, where I'm putting my content out there. I'm saying here's my content, but comments there's for RSS doesn't really tell you how you're going to handle comments tied back to users. I mean, you can do the pingbacks and things like that say, hey, I'm going to reach out and tell you I've referenced your blog post over at my blog post. And that works well for what that is. I think the protocol is there for exactly what Mastodon is and was still, I think, trying to solve, that federation of, oh, I am who I say I am. So you can track's probably a bad word, but that's exactly what it's doing. You can attribute posts to a specific user. You can know, oh, Tim actually made this comment, because there's some type of authentication protocol to say it really was him. It's not just random person claiming to be Tim making this. Oh no, that's Tim from this server or his own server or whatever. What I would like to see, and I've not dug into Mastodon near as much as people who love Mastodon.
I played with it. I thought it was interesting.
I mean, I played with it, but I'd love to see it to be really simple for you to run it on your own. And I know Mastodon you can, but it seems like people have kind of coalesced around groups and communities where it's like, oh, this speaks to some part of my identity, so I'm going to have my Mastodon account over here at this server. Whereas the beauty for me of RSS was you could use a platform, or you could just publish the thing yourself. It was really easy to get a plugin to put it on your own shared hosting or whatever. So I'd love to see.
Can't you just spin up a Docker container?
You can. And I'd love to see it be easier for normal people to be able to say, oh, it's easy for me to claim that I am who I say I am and interact with a great, whoever I want to interact with, without having to say, well, let me pick my server. That still to me seems to be the problem with the
maybe the decentralized web will eventually become a reality.
There you go. I don't know. I haven't looked at the protocol, but anyway, I like going that direction. I like going that direction more than going the direction of saying we need to change who owns the big companies to saying why don't we be less dependent on them, because that's what the web was That was the promise of the web, right? Mark, you could put up your website. I could put up my website. Says the developer who doesn't have a website. I get it. It can be difficult, and there's probably some people that are right now going to my website, which is, by the way, timlytle.net, and they're scratching their head and saying, why does this redirect to your Twitter profile? What can I say? We can be contradictions, can't we?
Maybe that's what I should do. I should redirect my private, my markherbeline.com to my Twitter profile. It's now private.
That is, do you know how frustrating that will be to people? I love it. We should do it. Yeah. Tune in next week when we may actually talk about developer topics. Who knows? Dev Friday is kind of an open book.
But all I know is there's no transcripts, no chapters in this one, Tim. We're going to keep this on the down low. Everything we talked about, it should not be on the internet.
Wait. You know we're streaming this live right now, right? Like you're aware that this content is on Twitter, and I think I may have just retweeted it and said that this is the best worst show we have ever done.
Oh my gosh.
Tune in next week when Mark will tell us the rest of his social security number, and I think he's going to put in front of the screen his 2021 tax returns. We'll see.
Oh my gosh.
This was something else.
Yeah. Well, it was honestly, it's also because like I was alluding to, it was a pretty rough week. So I was like, I was kind of dealing with a lot of family stuff. And
I'm going to end the stream right now before
rough week.
say anything else. Sorry, Twitter